Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 finally came out, and this was a perfect send off to the characters that we have been introduced over the past 9 years. And if you have to rate between the trilogy of the Guardians of the Galaxy, is Guardians of the Galaxy 1, then 3, then 2. 2 is the weakest one because this movie was a lot of fun. This movie grabs your attention in the past 2 hours and 30 minutes because there's a lot that's going on in this movie, but there's also some negatives about this movie, but there's a lot of positive to the point where this is something that is kind of a joy because we all know how the Guardians of the Galaxy pretty much kind of started how the MCU have handled their movies with comedy. And ever since the success of Volume 1, we kind of see how all of like the comedy styles and all like the dumb comedic humor has spread throughout all the rest of the Marvel films. And then so when we see Volume 3, it's kind of like a little bit redundant in a way because certain jokes kind of landed and certain jokes did not. And I feel like that was kind of like one of the negative aspects because when you saw Guardians of the Galaxy 1, it was kind of their shtick. And then now you see kind of like in most Marvel movies, like that's kind of like what the formula is. It kind of is just losing its luster. And then so when you see the originators of the people who kind of like started that formula or kind of like, was the pioneer of starting like that type of comedy, it kind of just runs out. But at the same time, it's kind of very enjoyable because they find new ways to entertain you with the jokes. And the thing that I did like about this film was that each character kept calling out after each other. Nebula is done with Mantis and Drax stupidityness and goofiness, but then Mantis is done with Nebula's bitchiness and like how she's just dealing with her anger. So it's just really funny how each of the group members they just keep calling out each other with their behavior, stupidityness, and just any kind of like negative emotions that they have towards each other. But you can tell that the group actually do care for each other no matter what, despite the whole differences that they have with each other. But the movie is very interesting because the whole movie is dealing with Rocket's raccoon's backstory and how much that he was just trying to run away from his past, but now he has to deal with the situation that had happened to occur to him, and now he has to go ahead and face the thing that he has been running from his past. And it's kind of funny because they kind of foreshadow it in the previous movies before when he kind of like mentioned about his past and like in a brief few statements, but then now we get to see the trauma and the actual torture that has happened to Raccoon because we start off in the movie with him and how he actually start talking as being a talking raccoon. And it's really, really dark. So if you guys actually hate cute animals being tortured and everything else, this is not the movie for you because you're going to see a whole bunch of animals being experimented, being tortured, and everything. And so we see what the backstory of Rocket, what he went through, and everything. And it's just really, really dark, which I commend this movie because the movie, when it became serious and dark and emotional and sad, this movie will bring out so many emotions that you will be so scared for the actual characters, but you will also cry because there are so sweet moments that you just know that there's going to be a red flag. But also, as well, like when it becomes serious, it becomes serious. And then when it becomes jokey, it becomes jokey. And even some of the jokes that they say kind of like save the scene for being way sappy because we also dealing with Star Lord and how he's dealing with his whole situation. Star Lord is drunk, especially in the beginning of this movie, because this man is down real bad because not only that he lost the love of his life, but also too he's going to lose his best friend because he already lost his mom. So Star Lord is just in this runt at this moment, and you just see him when he finally interacts with Gamora, but it's the Gamora of 2014, where the point where she actually did not met Star Lord. It just becomes really, really difficult. And Star Lord becomes very, very sappy because of the fact that he's just trying to make her kind of like bring back that old flame that he had with his Gamora, the one that's in the future, but it's not really working. And there were just certain scenes where you can just tell like Star Lord was being very, very annoying, but Gamora at first he was just trying to be nice to him, being like, "Hey, I know and I understand the thing that you have went through, especially with the future me, but I'm not her. So anything that you're trying to do is not going to work." And Star Lord is just like, no, maybe we can give it a try and everything else. And Gamora is just like, please, 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 to the point where she just becomes the Gamora that we got first introduced, the badass one, the one that doesn't take any BS at all. She just start whooping people's ass and just killing people, which was just very, very hilarious. And this was something that I feel like a lot of people will actually enjoy because this is the Gamora that we pretty much hear and see that she is the most dangerous woman in the universe, and we actually see it in this movie. So it was really great to see that they pull back from materials from the first movie into the third movie, and it was just really great to see. But we also see how Star Lord is dealing with his own past traumas as well, because when him and Mantis, they're actually having a conversation, she was like, how come you didn't see your grandpa? And we can only see that not only Rocket is the one who's running away from his past, but also as well we see Star Lord as well, because he hasn't even returned to Earth and he doesn't want to return to Earth to actually talk to his grandpa. And it's kind of funny because when we do get the scene where he does talk to his grandpa, he we get like a paper article. I'm sorry if I can't really talk as much right now, but we get a newspaper article where it literally talks about the events of Guardians of the Galaxy Day Christmas special. So which was very funny. So yeah, so it's all like kind of connected. But anyways, but with Star Lord is just pretty much how he's going to deal with everything of his own character development and his trauma and everything else, which was very, very great. Because when there were serious moments where he literally thinks that one of his friends is actually going to like die, like you can just tell the emotions that Chris Pratt is just literally is just did a fantastic job, and you can just feel and understand how Star Lord is feeling. But also as well, the one of the negatives part about this movie is that they didn't do much with Adam Warlock. Like Adam Warlock just stepped in for like 5 to 10 minutes of this movie, and we don't see him for like the rest of the other movie. And which was really sad because in the beginning of the movie, he did like a huge impact. He just beat up everybody, and that was just really, really great. And it just really sucks because with the script and everything that is happening throughout the whole movie, they didn't really do much for Adam Warlock. But I did like how they kind of explained to him how he was just kind of like a person that was kind of like a goofball. Like he do the things that you want him to do, but he just overdid it, which was very, very hilarious. But they did explain like kind of like why he's like that, because he is technically a child in a man's body, because he's like technically hatched out early from his cocoon that we saw from volume two. And so, since he got hatched out early, he's not really fully developed. So, that was a great explanation of how they introduced his character. But they didn't have him do much more, which was just very criminal. And I think that's just the negative about it. But the villain, the High Evolutionary, he did a great job. I wish they did more with him. Same thing what they did with Adam Locke. I wish they did more with him because they show him have telekinesis powers, and he really didn't showcase that ability a lot, especially if you're going to be facing against, 7 people, especially with great abilities as well. So like they didn't showcase that, but he is a perfect villain because he's full of himself, very narcissistic, and he has this god complex, because you can't blame him because he's creating these creatures, these perfect beings. And so of course he's going to have like this god complex, but he just continuously on screaming and screaming throughout the whole entire movie. And I'm just like, bruh, you don't really have to scream. But he was a very believable character, like how the movie portrayed it, because I don't know, in the comics it's probably different, but how the movie portrayed it, this was something like where he didn't really use his telekinesis power, so you can kind of see that the Guardians of the Galaxy will be actually be able to take him out, especially the way how they were able to like beat him and stuff. So, I wish they kind of did more with his powers and kind of like tone him down with the screaming, but he did a fantastic job, like as a villain and everything. There's a scene where the movie focused on all the Guardians and they're just beating up the henchmen, and that was just an awesome scene. And that was just a really, really great scene because it was cool and it was badass, and you showcase that everyone has like their shining moment, especially when it comes to like a superhero movie. That you need to have like everyone with this big cast to have like this great comeback, you know, action packed scene. So it was really great to see them with that. The one of the negatives I can say, when probably my last negative, is that the music choice for like the scene of the movies were just really, really off. It didn't really hit. Like it was just like, it's really great to hear these jams, but like, was it necessary for the scene? It just was just off putting. But other than that, this movie is a very solid movie, is a great way for the MCU, because especially what the MCU needed, because we just need an entertaining, good movie, and Guardians of the Galaxy is a movie that you guys should check out. My rating for this movie is literally an 8 out of 10 because this movie was very fantastic. For the 2 hours and 30 minutes, I was not bored with it. I was highly entertained, and this was very interesting. But let me know down in the comment section how you guys feel about this movie. What's your guys' favorite thoughts, theories? What you guys think what they're going to do with Star Lord? Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think, what they're going to do further on with the whole plan of Marvel and everything else. But if you guys do like the video, please give it a like, subscribe, and remember, always be decent. This is Mr. Monotone, and hope you guys have a wonderful day and be safe out here. Peace.